Everything you want already exists. It's just outside your frequency. There's a vibration, almost imperceptible, separating what you experience from what you imagine. And the most disturbing thing is that sometimes you feel like you're about to cross that boundary. A shiver, a coincidence, an unlikely encounter, signs that something is trying to reach you. But before it happens, everything slips away, like sand slipping through your fingers. You know that feeling. The dream is there, close enough to be seen, far enough away to be untouched. You visualize it, believe it, mentally repeat that it will happen. And yet, the world seems deaf to your efforts. What you emit doesn't arrive cleanly. The field doesn't understand the request. It's as if life is trying to respond to a frequency that isn't yet fully tuned into you. What if the secret wasn't to want more, but to emit better? What if the universe reacted not to the intensity of your thoughts, but to the coherence between them and your body? Because when there's internal noise, fear, haste, doubt, the signal fragments. The vibration disperses. The field doesn't reject you, it just doesn't recognize the sound. Think of an out-of-tune instrument. You can play the most beautiful melody, but the sound comes out distorted. The same goes for the energy you transmit. Every misaligned emotion, every thought that doesn't match your physical state, creates tiny cracks in the frequency. And in these cracks, reality is lost. But there's something no one told you. The universe doesn't respond to force, it responds to precision. It doesn't need to be convinced, just understood. What you desire is already moving toward you, but it's still waiting for the moment when your internal rhythm matches its own. This meeting point exists. It's like the precise pause between two heartbeats, the moment when everything aligns before continuing. And when you access it, reality stops being an attempt and starts being an answer. What's at stake isn't just getting what you want, but deciphering the code that makes the universe hear you. And this code, silent and precise, is vibrating within you right now, waiting for the first sign of coherence to become everything you've always envisioned. There's something curious about the moment when life seems to grind to a halt. It doesn't arrive with warning, but is felt in small pauses, in silences that weigh heavily. You try to move on, but something feels out of alignment, like an engine revving without ever engaging. Your body moves forward, but your field doesn't respond. And the strangest thing is that, on the outside, everything seems the same, but on the inside, it's as if the frequency has shifted half a degree to the side, enough so that nothing quite fits together. You wake up feeling so close to what you want, yet so far away that everything slips through an invisible gap. It's like watching the reflection of an open door in water. You see the passage, but you can't quite get through. Your mind tries to decipher what's missing. Perhaps effort, perhaps focus, perhaps luck. But what's at stake is more subtle. Life isn't denying you. It's just waiting for your inner state to say the same thing your words say. This is where many get lost. They try to conquer the invisible using only visible force. They mentally repeat what they desire, but their body still vibrates with fear, need, and haste. And the universe understands fear, not the request. It responds to who you really are, not what you say you want. This is the hardest part to accept, and the most liberating to understand. Perhaps that's why so many choose to stay here, following each revelation, because they feel something inside begin to shift even before they rationally understand why. There's a silent recognition, as if a forgotten part of you finally hears its own sound. When this recognition occurs, the body reacts. The breathing changes, the chest opens, the mind slows. And, for a moment, anything seems possible. Not because something magical has happened, but because the vibration that was previously fragmented begins to align. The field notices the difference. The universe listens. And it's at this point, between sound and silence, that something begins to reveal itself. It's not yet the complete answer. It's just the first sign that the code is being cracked, and that the right frequency is finally beginning to emerge. But when this connection begins to form, something unexpected happens. Life, as if testing the new vibration, places provocative mirrors before you. Old situations return, people you thought you'd outgrown reappear, and emotions that seemed buried emerge like echoes of a past still waiting to be heard. It's the field asking you, have you really changed, or do you just want to believe you have? And that's when the frequency is defined, not in calm, but in the confrontation between the old and the new. You try to maintain balance, but realize your body reacts before your thoughts. Your heart races, your breath shortens, your mind returns to defense. Instinct wants to run, your ego wants to control, and your heart simply asks to feel. It is in this friction that energy recalibrates, burning away what no longer serves and making room for something that still has no name. Discomfort is the portal, and few cross it, because they confuse the fire of purification with the heat of loss. With each attempt to escape, the universe repeats the cycle, only in new guises. Until you understand that the purpose is not to escape, but to remain. To remain present even when the ground seems to dissolve. It is in the midst of chaos that the new frequency proves itself. It is there, the moment you take a deep breath and refuse to react in the old way, that the field notices. Something has changed. Hope and fear coexist. They are like two opposing currents within the same river. Hope pushes forward, fear pulls back, and you feel your body being torn in different directions. But there is a point, a precise center, where these forces meet and cancel each other out. It is there that silence is born. And in this silence, the signal becomes pure. No noise, no rush, no mask. In this state, everything around you seems to reorganize. Sounds become clearer, time slows down, breathing becomes almost sacred. What was once mere thought begins to gain weight, form, density. But before you can grasp it, the field responds with something unexpected. An event, a synchronicity, a presence that cannot be explained. It's not yet the final answer, but a harbinger of it. A glimpse that something greater, more precise, and more real is about to emerge. And then comes the moment when the unexpected stops being a threat and starts feeling like a call. You realize that every discomfort, every repetition, every unanswered silence was actually an invitation to listen more deeply. The universe speaks in signs, not words, and sometimes it uses what bothers you most to adjust the tone of your frequency. It's as if to say, don't fight the echo, learn from it. What once seemed like chaos begins to reveal rhythm. A difficult conversation, a delay, a hurtful look, everything takes on a new texture when you allow yourself to breathe before reacting. It's in this interval, between impulse and response, that the field organizes itself. And what once hurt now begins to make sense, like a discordant note suddenly finding harmony within the whole. You realize that the universe doesn't work with punishments, but with mirrors. It returns exactly what you emit, not out of cruelty, but with precision. The reflection exists to teach you to recognize your own sound. When the vibration aligns, the reflection changes, and what seemed like a blockage becomes a passage. This understanding doesn't come with euphoria, but with a kind of peace that requires no proof. Some people, at this point, feel an impulse to support this journey, leaving a silent signal that the message touched them. It's almost a gesture of recognition, as if to say, I felt it too. And perhaps this is what keeps the energy circulating, the invisible sharing between consciousnesses that remember, together, what it means to be in tune. Little by little, resistance dissolves. Doubt softens. Breathing begins to flow again. And what was once searching becomes listening. You understand that nothing was missing, it was simply out of sync, like a melody played out of time. Now, with each breath, you approach the precise cadence where the universe and your heart finally begin to beat in unison. But there's still something more. A layer that can't be explained, only felt. A force that patiently watches for the right moment to reveal itself. And when it does, nothing will ever sound the same again. But when the rhythm stabilizes and the mind begins to quiet, something subtle happens. The field that once seemed external begins to respond from within. It's no longer the world that changes first. It's your body that becomes an antenna. You begin to feel before you see, to perceive before you understand. Coincidences approach as if time were bending to facilitate the encounter. The right words arrive, the right people cross your path, and what once seemed like effort becomes flow. But along with this expansion also comes the shadow. The part of you that hasn't yet learned to trust tries to regain control. It whispers old doubts, brings up memories of times when things went wrong, and tries to convince you that this calm is just a passing illusion. And it's at this point that the true test begins. It's no longer the universe that challenges you, but you with yourself. The fear of losing what's blossoming is often the final veil before manifestation. Hope and fear alternate like the ebb and flow of waves. There are days when the horizon seems clear, and others when fog covers everything. But if you breathe and stay, something remains lit beneath the surface. A silent force, like the glow of an ember held between your hands. This light isn't extinguished by the wind, it simply waits for the right moment to become a flame. This is where silence takes on a new color. It's no longer the emptiness that scares, but the space where something new begins to germinate. You feel the weight of surrender and, at the same time, the relief of no longer having to fight. The universe doesn't rush, but it doesn't delay either. It only responds when the vibration is clean enough to support what's coming. And then, for a brief moment, everything seems to align. The air thickens, the heart slows, and the sensation is that something invisible is about to pierce the veil between imagination and reality. It doesn't fully reveal itself yet, but it's already palpable. A presence pulsating in the air, silent, precise, and about to reveal what it truly means to master the frequency that creates the world. And it's when this presence begins to draw near that reality seems to falter. Everything remains the same at first glance, the same walls, the same time, the same people, but something invisible shifts in the texture of things. Colors gain density, the air seems more alive, and even silence acquires sound. It's as if the entire world breathes along with you. Each step leaves a nearly imperceptible trail, a vibration that echoes beyond physical space, and for the first time you realize that nothing you experienced was random. Everything was moving toward this moment. But with this lucidity comes weight. Because seeing the truth requires opening your eyes even to what you don't want to see. You understand that mastering frequency also means accepting the shadow it casts. Light doesn't emerge without contrast, and expansion doesn't happen without confrontation. The fear of losing what's being built becomes more subtle, more silent, but it's still there, watching every move, ready to test whether the trust is real or just momentary. It's at this point that time seems to dilate. Hours stretch out as if the universe were measuring you, not in results, but in presence. You feel the paradox of being more whole than ever and, at the same time, more vulnerable. As if every cell in your body were an open window, letting light in and darkness out, in precise proportions. This duality manifests itself in everything. The touch of an old memory contrasts with the promise of what has yet to happen. The fear of falling mingles with the joy of finally floating. The mind tries to understand, but the heart merely observes, like someone recognizing the pattern of a song that has always existed but can only now hear. And just when you think the frequency has found rest, a new, even more subtle movement emerges, a vibration that comes not from outside, but from the very center. Something awakens, and the air around you changes temperature. It feels as if the entire universe is about to inhale along with you. But it doesn't yet. It remains there, on the threshold of breath, suspending time for a moment that seems eternal, before revealing what comes next. And when the universe finally inspires, you feel the answer reverberate within you. It's not a sound, nor a clear image, it's a shift in gravity. Everything feels lighter and more real at the same time. Coincidences accelerate, signals multiply, and what once seemed distant begins to rearrange itself around you with almost mathematical precision. It's as if the field recognizes your name and begins to work silently, opening pathways you never knew existed. But along with this movement comes a new kind of test. The return doesn't come easily, and the ego tries to claim credit. It was my effort. It was my strategy. It's tempting to believe that achievement is the result of control, but that's the trap. Because every time control returns, the flow narrows. The vibration compresses. The field watches, patiently, waiting for you to remember. Power isn't in forcing the outcome, but in sustaining the state that attracted it. You notice that results begin to come from unlikely places. A forgotten message, an unexpected invitation, a small gesture that changes the course of the day. They are subtle, almost timid responses, but packed with precision. And it's in this detail that true confirmation lies. Reality doesn't shout, it whispers. And the more attentive you are, the clearer the sound becomes. There's a constant contrast between action and surrender, between doing and allowing. Each step requires a balance between intention and trust, like walking a thin line stretched between two worlds, what already exists and what's about to be born. It's in this balance that coherence is consolidated. The universe tests not the strength of your will, but the stability of your silence. Some, upon noticing these signs, feel the urge to share what they've understood. Not as someone who teaches, but as someone who acknowledges, that happened to me too. This sharing is more than a comment. It's the vibration expanding, echoing between consciousnesses that are awakening together. Perhaps you too feel this urge now, to leave a word, a memory, an insight. Something that marks the exact point at which you realized. Life has always responded. You are the one who, for the first time, is truly listening. And as the field aligns and answers begin to emerge, something deeper reveals itself. You realize that true power lies not only in attracting what you desire, but in sustaining what arrives. The universe doesn't deliver blessings to be displayed, but to be understood. It observes whether the vibration that opened the door is the same one that can keep it open. Because every achievement is also a test of permanence. It's at this point that the brilliance of the new blends with the weight of responsibility. What was once a dream now demands constancy. The flow that seemed effortless demands discipline, and freedom takes shape within subtle boundaries. It's a paradox. The same space that freed you now demands structure, and the same silence that brought clarity begins to confront you with the inner noise that still lingers. Growth has this sound, the sound of a new balance forming, fragile but real. Hope remains alive, but in a different way. It doesn't vibrate with euphoria, it pulses with sobriety. It's no longer desire that moves you, but the awareness that each step must be chosen with intention. You understand that manifesting isn't just creating, it's sustaining. And sustaining requires presence, even when the initial enchantment fades and the field demands more of you than before. There are times when progress seems to slow, and fear returns in softer tones, disguised as fatigue or doubt. That's when true alignment is proven. Because the universe doesn't measure your faith in victories, but in the way you breathe when everything seems too quiet. Confidence is strengthened in the pauses, not in the applause. You begin to notice signs that aren't external, but within your own body. Your heart responds differently, your thoughts lose their urgency, your breathing gains weight and lightness at the same time. It's as if a new layer of perception opens up, allowing you to see not only what's happening, but why it's happening. And yet, there's something that remains shrouded in mystery. A sense that the field is preparing something greater, something that doesn't yet fit into our understanding, but already vibrates at the edges of our consciousness. The air seems to carry this invisible promise, and even without seeing it, you know, it's coming. And as that promise begins to draw near, you feel something shift in the air. It's as if time slows down to make way for what's to come. The hours take on a new texture, sounds seem clearer, and even everyday gestures, opening a door, turning on a light, taking a deep breath, take on symbolic weight. Everything seems part of a secret choreography, where each movement is both action and message. The universe begins to respond in subtle gestures, and you learn to read the invisible. But with this new sensitivity also comes a challenge. Because seeing deeper means no longer being able to pretend not to see. Every misaligned thought is reflected back faster, every undigested emotion returns as an echo. The field now responds in real time, and this demands a presence from you that cannot be partial. It's like walking in mirrors. Any misstep shows you the reflection that still needs to be adjusted. Light and shadow intertwine in the same fabric. There are days when everything seems to flow perfectly. Encounters, coincidences, clear signs. But on others, silence returns, and the path's brightness fades for a moment. It is in this contrast that true strength is formed. Because true confidence isn't born when everything goes right, but when you choose to stay even without guarantees. Progress is real, but not linear. It pulses. It advances and retreats. Like the sea that kisses the sand and then withdraws, only to return with greater force. And each time the flow recedes, it is merely gathering energy for the next advance. Understanding this is liberating. It is the moment when the fear of losing transforms into respect for the rhythm. With each cycle, clarity grows, but so does mystery. You begin to realize that frequency isn't something to be mastered, but lived. It permeates you, shapes you, teaches you to yield. And when you try to describe it, words become too small, as if true meaning exists only in the space between one breath and the next. The air around you seems to vibrate with something that hasn't yet revealed itself. A presence that watches, patiently, waiting for the exact moment to reveal itself. And you feel, deep down, that when that happens, the world around you, and within you, will never sound the same again. And then, when the presence finally reveals itself, you understand what you've always been trying to grasp. It's not a vision or a miracle, but a state, the convergence of everything you believed to be separate. The inside and the outside, the visible and the invisible, the effort and the rest. Everything falls into place, as if the entire universe had waited only for your breath to align. And for an instant, life ceases to be something that happens to you and becomes something that pulses through you. The sensation is of returning, but not to the starting point, to a deeper center, where everything makes sense without needing explanation. You realize that the frequency you were searching for was never far away. It was just waiting for the moment you were ready to hear it without noise. The air seems denser, time more elastic, and your entire body vibrates as if recognizing an ancient language you've always known but forgotten. The challenges don't disappear, but now they carry a different weight. Fear is no longer an enemy, it's a frontier. Doubt doesn't paralyze, it guides. You no longer try to control the flow, you simply move with it, knowing that every pause, every silence, carries a purpose. It's like sailing on an ocean that, for the first time, recognizes the timbre of your voice and responds in gentle waves. Reality changes in almost imperceptible details. People's gazes, the cadence of conversations, the small gestures of the day. Everything becomes a message. Everything is a field. You understand that coherence is not a fixed point, but a living practice, and that every choice, even the simplest, is a declaration of frequency. This is how the universe listens, by how you exist, not just by what you desire. And it's in that moment of silent lucidity that something solidifies within you. There's no more rush, no more searching, just a deep sense of recognition that somehow you've arrived. And, at the same time, you've just begun. Many describe this moment as an awakening. Others call it remembrance. But deep down, it's simply presence, pure, whole, effortless. If this message resonates with you, perhaps it's a sign that your frequency has already begun to shift. Let the universe know that you're ready, that you've grasped the sound. A simple gesture, a comment, a word can keep this vibration alive. Because now, more than ever, you're not just someone listening to the field. You're part of it. You are the sound. You are the frequency. And the world, from now on, will respond to the rhythm of what you've become.